Kurt Busch had some strong opinions about the current state of NASCAR in a recent interview he did with NASCAR veteran and commentator Kenny Wallace. Let's take a look at what Kurt Busch had to say.
Champion, you've done it all. So what you say matters. What is your opinion on NASCAR today, where NASCAR is right now?
I like where NASCAR is. Yes, it has areas of weaknesses. It has areas of strength. The key thing that I remember the most coming up through was I got to meet Bill France Jr. I got to meet him at the Waldorf Astoria when I was champion in '04. I got
Awesome.
to go to his presidential suite, and when the door opened, I had to cut through the smoke with a knife.
Best banquet ever, Waldorf. That's the real champion's place. Damn it, I love that. Yeah, he's smoking that. He's smoking and drinking beer.
Yeah, it was so much smoke. I had to cut through like scissors, knife, and like everything. Like, where you at, Mr. France? Where you at?
Let's just stop it right here. I think already we're seeing a totally different NASCAR. Basically, cigarettes have been excised, and the leader of the sport was literally an actual cigarette smoker. There's so much smoke you have to like cut through the clouds to get to even see him in his hotel room. So already we're getting a different picture of what NASCAR looked like in the past compared to what it is today. But let's go on and after this, see what else
The
Kurt Busch has to say.
president.
Yeah. And he said, son, sit down. I got something to tell you. He said, you're a champion now of my sport. Don't go fuck it up.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And that's what people really talk.
yeah, and I liked that iron fist mentality.
Yeah.
Times when I was in trouble with Mike Helton, it was, you got to fix this.
Yeah.
Now what I see with NASCAR, there is the France family, but there's such a board of directors and others and all these categories and all
Not
these
one
things
guy.
going on that it's a committee, and it hurts itself sometimes. There still needs to be that one go-to, like, we're going this direction type of person. That's what I'd like to see with our sport.
Yeah,
I think that's a really interesting comment there, and I think that's one of the reasons why we have a lot of problems in our society at large. But I'm not going to get to that. But yeah, I do think that you need to have someone that where the buck stops with them. And when you just have all these other different people trying to weigh in, those people should be weighing in, but they should be giving that advice to the person who's going to make the decision. And when you have that person that makes that executive decision, makes the decision, you go with it, whether it's a bad decision or a good decision. You know who it fell on is the person who made that decision, rather than having this kind of like committee and trying to mitigate, like spread the risk of like whether or not you made a bad decision to other people. But yeah, I do like this idea that he's talking about here is that getting away from kind of this work by committee and having it being done by an actual person who makes those final calls. I really like that he's talking about that here.
really, really like what you said because I'm older than you. And, you know, Mike Helton called me up one day and fined my ass $10,000. That's another story. And I had to write a check, to NASCAR. I got my butt in trouble. So I like what you said.
I think there's something to that too. It sets a precedent of like, hey, this is the line that you cannot cross. You're telling people like this is what you need, like this is how far you can go. Don't go any further than that. You have an expectation of what you can do set within those rules. You're not having to second guess yourself. It's like, oh, can I do this or can't I do this? You know what you can do and you can't do, and you know if you cross that line, there are going to be repercussions for that. In NASCAR, who knows what the repercussions are? I mean, we've seen so many different rulings that one thing is good here, another thing's bad here. Oh, you can say this here, but you can't say this there. We're going to suspend you here because you liked a post on Twitter. You liked a different post from a different angle. That's fine. We'll leave that here. And no, it should be the same rules for everyone, and everyone should know what those rules are. And when you do break those rules, they come down on you with that iron fist that Kurt Busch is talking about. So let's continue here, though. But I really do like that, too. And they should get back to that.
Because after that, me and Helton became dear friends.
Yep, you learn from that, and he wanted to try to give you a lesson.
Yeah.
Right? But one thing I also can add to that is I see a lot of sponsors block other sponsors. It's like I can't hold up, like when I was with Penske, there was the Shell gas saver card or something
Oh,
when
man.
you win.
Yeah.
And I got a call from the president after I won saying, "Hey, you can't do that. It's Sunoco's victory lane."
Oh,
And I went, "I don't care. I just want to race with our race team. You guys go sort that out. I
yeah,
don't care."
right.
So there's the times where sponsors don't even jump into our sport because it's already blocked. And we can't do that. We can't hurt each other with different turf and different contracts of who owns what. But that's the way it works.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I think that's an actual huge issue when you're not letting people come into the sport that want to dump money into the sport, want to promote the sport, want to give back to the sport, want to build up the sport, but they can't because you already have obligations to other sponsors, etc., like that. I do think that is a big issue, and hopefully that they something that they can work around and solve. Obviously, that's going to be tough because you're dealing with massive corporate sponsors that view each other as like the complete and utter enemies of each other, and don't really want to work with each other and want to hold on to their turf. But it is something that I think NASCAR needs to look at and needs to try and solve that. I think it's utterly ridiculous that the Shell can't have Kurt Busch hold up his little Shell Saver card when he just won a sport in order to thank his sponsors and support them for supporting him and allowing him to race and allowing him to compete and chase his dream because Sunoco has the Victory Lane sponsor. Sure, Sunoco can keep their Victory Lane sponsor, but Kurt Busch still has his sponsors that he needs to thank too. And that's something that I mean, I don't know if this is going on in a lot of like the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model track, but and a lot of the short tracks that you see around the country, you have these people, especially when I watch on Flow Racing, the announcers when they're doing their victory lane speeches, or even the top three, top five, depending on the track and the touring division you're looking at, they ask them, who do you have to thank? What are your sponsors? They want to get those sponsors involved. In the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model division, you even have the announcers on Flow Racing introducing the cars and the drivers with their sponsors. Yes, they say it really fast, like you're at an auction, but they do indeed announce those sponsors. You get that airtime for sponsoring those vehicles, for sponsoring those drivers. And they also have the Victory Lane sponsors. They have the other sponsors too, and they're all able to make it work. So I do think there is a solution for this, and there is a way going forward. But I really wanted to just share this with you, what Kurt Busch had to say about some of the problems he is seeing with the current state of NASCAR. If you want to watch the rest of this video, go over to Kenny Wallace's channel. Kurt Busch does talk about the new car and some other things like that in the video. But I thought these two issues right here in the beginning were really important. I wanted to highlight them for this video. So let me know what you think about what Kurt Busch had to say in the comments below.